What's up, guys? This is 2bucks, and today you're going to be listening to a rather personal commentary. Usually in my commentaries I haven't gotten that personal about my life, Most of the time I just include some amusing anecdotes from my past, but this one is going to be a commentary that'll have to dig in deep to some of my most precious thoughts. And I know what you guys are thinking, oh, 2bucks, we don't want to have to hear about your newborn son again. So let's just get right to the point here. As you can probably tell by the title, this will be about my first ever girlfriend. It may surprise you that I actually had a girlfriend at a very young age, at the age of 8, in 3rd grade, my first year of coming to the United States. That is right, that's what 2bucks does. He invades other people's countries and then he steals their women. Although technically not, I'll explain later. Now, there are several interesting things about my first ever girlfriend. For one thing, she is a girl. All of my other girlfriends have been dudes. But not only that, she was like a real girlfriend. I know a lot of elementary school relationships. That just sounds so weird that I say that. Is basically like one person liking the other person, and then once they find out they like each other, they're too shy to talk to each other for like 3 months. And in middle school, they're also too shy to talk to each other, but they still go on dates, but it's just really awkward and stuff. But I'm pretty glad to say that this girlfriend that I had was actually a pretty legitimate relationship. Once again, like in my other videos, I'm not going to tell you guys her real name. The reason is I'm kind of paranoid about these things, and I haven't been in contact with this chick since 3rd grade, so I don't even know if she wants me to talk about her. So let's just give her a code name. Let's just call her Karina for the sake of my paranoia and whatnot. Now, this may shock you guys and may seem a bit unbelievable, but Karina was a Russian girl. Ow, shit! She had been born in the United States, but her parents were from Russia, and she did look pretty traditionally Russian. I don't really know what that means, but she wore her hair in braids all the time, a nice little ponytail. I don't even know if that's like stereotypically Russian or anything. I don't really care. Now, for the beginning half of 3rd grade, I was not the most popular kid in school, since I just came from a foreign country, and I did not speak a lot of English yet, and it's kind of hard to make friends when you don't speak their language, just saying. But I was actually able to pick up English with monstrous pace just because everybody else around me spoke English, and I guess as a young child I had a decent brain as opposed to now. And I also read a lot of books that were on cassette tapes, so that as I was reading, I could play the cassette tape and there would be like a voice reading to me. And if you ever want to teach your kids a foreign language, that's a great way to do it. So I pretty much soaked up English, and by the end of 2nd grade, when we had to take this New York State standardized English/math exam, I scored, well, obviously 99th percentile on the math, and I actually scored 50th percentile on the English exam. Which I don't know whether is like really good for me that I was already average at English after a year of learning it, or just really shitty for the American education system. Either way, quite nice. And I also did not have a Chinese accent because my parents never taught me English. Like I said, I learned all the pronunciations through these cassette tapes and through listening to American people talk, so I was able to develop a regular American accent. And nowadays I'm in AP English and whatnot, so I'd say I learned it pretty well, I guess, by this age. Well, I just got really sidetracked there for a couple minutes. But my point is, about halfway through 3rd grade, I was becoming a functional member of society. I was starting to make friends. I actually was invited to a friend of mine's birthday party, and we did some laser tag. That was pretty fun. And around this time was when Karina started coming on to me. At this point, you're contemplating closing off the video because you're like, what the hell? How can 2bucks, this little Asian commentator dude on YouTube, have a Russian girlfriend in 3rd grade who was coming on to him and not the other way around? And, oh, by the way, she was not overweight, and she was not ugly. Trust me, I'm thinking the same thing as you. How could a guy like me have gotten such a nice, fine young girl? And even to this day, it's just a mystery to me, and when I look back, I really want to hit myself on the head for not really appreciating Karina as much as I really should have. I didn't realize that it was actually kind of cool to have a girlfriend back then, and I didn't know how lucky it was for me that I didn't even have to do any of the work. She just started liking me. I was a very ignorant young kid, to say the least. The origins of Karina's liking for me is still a mystery to me, but basically she just started liking me. She started sitting next to me in lunch, with how usually elementary school relationships develop. But basically we just hung out more and more and became more attached to each other until one day we were like, oh, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Cool story, bro. And honestly, she got pretty into it. Every time we would walk through the halls, she would basically be grabbing onto my arm with like either both of her hands or like both of her arms. And that was one of my most distinct memories of Karina, really. And overall, she was a very nice girl. She cared about me. She was quite intelligent because, Russian chicks usually are pretty intelligent these days. And our relationship was kind of interesting because she was basically, I wouldn't really say in charge all the time, but she was like the driving factor behind it. Because I was just like an idiotic third grader, and in China, people didn't have relationships until like high school. So I had no idea what a girlfriend really like even encompassed. So she was the one that made sure that she always sat next to me in class, always hung out with me during recess, and after a while I kind of liked having a female companion around. And there are two other very distinct memories I had of Karina. One was for a day we had to dress up. I don't know if it was either moving up day, aka when you move up from second grade to third grade. It's kind of like a graduation, except you don't leave. I remember on that day I was wearing a little tie. I had my little dress shirt on, looking all spiffy. And Karina came over and started fixing up my tie for me. And thinking back, it was just such a touching moment. No other girl has done that for me since, and I am very sad about it. Even my mother, who despises me greatly. Just kidding. Or am I? Yes, I am kidding. But are you? Yes, I am. And the other memory I had of Karina was, for some reason, in either a recess period or kind of just like a break period between classes, me and her were kind of isolated in this cabinet section of the classroom where we would put our backpacks and stuff. And for some reason, as a little third grader, I decided that it was kind of funny to say pussycat a bunch of times over and over again. And I got kind of loud with it. I don't really even know why I was saying pussycat. It is kind of funny sounding if you think about it. And she was getting very indignant with me. And after like the fifth time I said pussycat, she just grabbed me on the arm and she looked at me very sternly and said, "Do you even know what pussy means?" And I said, "No." And she said, "It's a girl's blank," and she kind of like made a gesture that made me understand what she was talking about. And I was just like, oh. Even though I had no idea what a girl's thing looked like back then. But I understood that boys had private parts and girls had private parts. And you're not allowed to talk to them in public. Or yes, you're not allowed to talk to girls in public or their private parts. No, but you're not allowed to talk about their private parts in public. Alright, I lied. I have one more distinct memory of Karina. This one is actually kind of sad. I didn't really want to share it at first, but I decided, why not? In about April or May, whatever it was, coming to the end of the year, it was time for Karina's birthday, and she was going to have a birthday party, but she was only going to be inviting all girls. But she decided to invite me along, seeing as I was her, boyfriend. But one day, like just not even a week before the party, she gave me a phone call and told me that I was no longer invited to her party and that I was going to be replaced with some other chick because she said she wanted it to be just an all-girls party. And even to this day, I can feel the bitch slap right in the face. I'm not calling her a bitch, I'm saying it was a bitch slap. And I was kind of crushed. But back then, I didn't take it that personally. We were still boyfriend and girlfriend for a while after that. If it had happened today, like when I'm in high school, then I would have been like, oh, hell nah, sister. But unfortunately, after third grade, I moved schools because the third grade school I was going to was not actually in my school district. I had to go to it because they had one of the region's best language learning programs for first year English students. So after the year was over, they decided that it was time for me to go back to my regular school district, and I never saw Karina again. We were both pretty sad about it. For some reason, we didn't really stay in touch via phone or anything. But in 6th grade, a chick at my school who was also Russian knew Karina, and I was talking to her, and it kind of came up that I was her friend back then. And one day, this chick in 6th grade brought me a picture of Karina, along with a note that Karina had written to me saying that she remembered the old times, and she gave me her phone number to call her, but I never did. And honestly, that was one of the dumbest things I'd ever done in my life. I guess the reason I never really did was because I felt it would be kind of awkward to have a girlfriend in 6th grade. I realized that that is the stupidest thing you've ever heard, but that was my sentiment back then. And I never really gave it much thought until now in high school. The other Russian chick had also moved away now, and I have no idea where the hell she is. And I've tried to look up Karina on Facebook to no success. Mostly because I completely have forgotten what her last name was, as terrible as that sounds. So yeah, that's my extremely long, tragic story about my first ever girlfriend. But the story's probably not as tragic for you guys, the fans, because if Karina was still my girlfriend now, I would probably not be making YouTube videos. I would be off making extremely sexy and smart China Russian babies. Rhina or Trussian. So yeah, that's about it, and I'll see y'all later.